Welcome back, everyone. We are ready to go with round one of the DreamHack Hearthstone Grand Prix here in Valencia. I'm Raven, and joining me, of course, for this cast is going to be Subtle. And we're finally ready. We apologise about the slight delay, but herding 280 players and making sure they're all sorted out for the Swiss, making sure round one is as smooth as it can be, is very important, and it's only going to get quicker from here as we move on throughout the rounds.
Yep, and we've had a slight change of plan. We've gone from one defending DreamHack champion to another. Funny how that works, but it is uniquely possible in the DreamHack Grand Prix format. We were going to have Orange being shown on stream as the winner of the last Grand Prix event. His opponent couldn't be found and corralled in time to get you a match in a timely manner, so we've switched to Evangelion, who is the defending Valencia Grand Prix champion, and someone that we talked a great deal about in the intro.
Yeah, we have Evangelion versus Kycoo, and I was chatting to Kycoo before. Actually, he's been playing a lot with Denim Blue as well, so just a group of German friends, basically. But Evangelion, there's the guy to really keep an eye on here. He had quite the ridiculous run, to be honest, through the last DreamHack Valencia, and he's looking to repeat that success. We see the bans now, Double Druid being banned out, and then Evangelion, oh, easy. Okay, Evangelion Shaman has been banned out, and we have the Priest Paladin again, which is Evangelion's key class, and the Mage for him. And then slight similar lineups, but there's a Rogue in there for Kycoo.
Yeah, Rogue, most likely Miracle. Actually, there's something in the back of my mind. I've got no hard data to back this up, but I think Kycoo has actually brought Miracle Rogue to tournaments in the past, where it was actually more of a fringe deck as well, like during the Quest Rogue meta, for example. So no great surprise to see that Rogue in there, and I'm hoping and praying that that Paladin that we see in Evangelion's lineup is an Azoth Paladin, and the metagame is right for it, because one of the big decks keeping the super slow, grindy Paladins out of the metagame was Quest Rogue. And of course, that is no more with that nerf probably keeping out of this tournament. Straight away, we see a very, very greedy Priest deck coming out from Evangelion there. Free from Amber suggests that there is probably a Medivh hanging around in this list somewhere. Kycoo just going to go ahead and queue up what looks very much to be the Evolved Shaman. Yeah, not really a surprise from Evangelion, really. Just a heavy control Priest more than anything. It's just a really signature from him as a whole and as a player, just taking the slow control decks. And, we see he's probably got the Medivh, probably that really late game style Priest. Don't know how it's going to work versus the Evolved Shaman, though, as it's more than likely just not enough removal to really deal with it. Maybe Dragonfire Potion is going to be the key one. Dirty Rat in the opening hand as well is an indicator that this is a slightly unique looking Priest deck, and based on the facts so far, there are two Shadow of Deaths in hand. I was about to make the read on the Kazaka's Priest possibility, the fact that we have a Dirty Rat and a Free from Amber, but then immediately those two Shadow of Death registered. So no, this is just a very, very greedy looking control Priest.
Yeah, and Dirty Rat's just going to be played down now from Evangelion to try and just sneak something small and put a taunt in the way, but suddenly the thing from below is going to be able to just smash through that Dirty Rat straight away.
Yeah, and there was a lot of bad outcomes for Evangelion in this spot. Of course, not a huge risk to just be slamming turn 2 Dirty Rat. It is kind of a meme play a lot of the time, like a play that less experienced players make, to just slam Dirty Rat when you don't have an answer for things that come out. Even in this spot, though, Thing from Below comes down. You can Shadow of Death it as a follow-up, but looking at Kycoo's hand, like perhaps even Manatite Totem coming out would have even been worse for him.
Yeah. And now the Manatite Totem has come out, so Kycoo's going to be able to just keep this this momentum up in terms of resources. His hand is still pretty reasonable considering the minion's been Dirty Ratted out. That Manatide pretty much paying for itself. It's a second Dirty Rat, but it's just not going to do anything versus the Thing from Below. So I imagine this might just have to be a Shadow of Death pass, which feels bad with that Manatide on the board. It's very, very awkward turn for Evangelion here.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise he's like doing what? Shadow Vision, search for Shadow of Pain, and then coin that out to deny the card draw. I mean, that's equally miserable, but that's not a good feeling. Deathing a Thing from Below that your opponent has essentially played for 0 mana because of your Dirty Rat.
Yeah, not because they pressed Totem for a few turns.
Yeah, it already got value trading through your Dirty Rat as well, so you're Shadow of Deathing a minion that's already picked up a value trade. That Dirty Rat did not go well for Evangelion, but the point I was going to make is there's so many potential 1-2s, right? And the Flame Elemental in hand that Evangelion would have known was there potentially with the Firefly being played, that gave him just that little bit of motivation to just slam out that Dirty Rat, hope he was going to hit a small 1-2 minion. If it hit Primal Pin Totem, fine, I'll deal with it. but little did he know the double Mana Tide thing from below hand was about as punishing as it was going to get.
Yeah, and this Power Word Shield might change a few things, but now there's just an option for Evangelion to go Dirty Rat Coin Talon Priest. I think that was overall his plan, just to say, I just want to get something really big on the board and hope it survives. How many more big minions can be left in hand at this point? Instead did just go for the regular Dirty Rat. Kind of gets away with it because there are no minions left, so this like almost makes up for how bad the first one was. Still though, double Mana Tide.
Kycoo,
scary.
Kycoo has an option here. He can go for a value Bloodlust this turn. You just saw Shadow Visions get cast, which means, you know, any Dragonfire Potion in the deck is going to be tracked to and picked up more than likely. Like, it's likely to be offered as an option. And if it is offered, it will be taken.
Yeah.
And Kycoo knows Coin is still in hand for Evangelion as well, so he might be losing his board on this turn. But I think he feels like having drawn Firefly, J-Claws in hand, Evolve, like even if Dragonfire Potion comes down and hits this board, he will have drawn 2 more cards off the Mana Tide as well. So he feels confident that he can just re-stick a board state, even if a Dragonfire Potion comes down.
Yeah, it's just not even that much value for a Dragonfire in general at the moment.
It's 2 Mana Tides on the board. Those things have to go sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but like Kycoo's not really committed much to the board. You know, he's not got Flame Tongues on there, which are also, you know, the high value cards. He's not evolved anything. Not really done much, to be honest, and he's just in a very strong position. Now the Jade Claws equip just to get that Jade train rolling.
Yeah, I like him using the health of the minion here. I think this is a nod to the fact that Kycoo maybe expects some AoE to come down off that Shadow Visions pool. So he's just using his minions as a resource, just feeling like he's probably going to lose the board on the next turn.
This is the issue as well with Priest versus Shaman. Holy Nova, well, it does great versus the base totems and some of the minions, but the really killer totems like the Mana Tides, like the Primal Fins, like the Flame Tongues survive. And like, is it even worth it? Do you just have to coin out Dragonfire at this point? Maybe though.
Crucially, Evangelion is not dead to Bloodlust this turn, so he doesn't have to snap to the Dragonfire Potion just to think he has to stay alive. The big problem is just the 2 Mana Tides, right? Like, if you don't Dragonfire this board, then Kycoo's basically at the point where he's got 10 cards in hand for the rest of the game. How are you going to keep answering how efficiently Bloodlust Shaman, Evolve Shaman can flood the board turn after turn after turn?
Yeah, and there is this play as well with Coin and Power Shield. A Shadow Word Horror would be pretty sweet from this Lyra. But the problem really is no matter what's played, if it's not the AoE, then it means that 1 Flame Tongue, 1 Bloodlust, although it doesn't kill him, gets so much additional value.
Jade Lightning even is a pretty solid tempo play in this spot. Combined with the weapon, he only has to then trade in a 1/1 to take care of this Lyra, and he just reconsolidates basically exactly the same board size to threaten Bloodlust on the following turn. So if he sinks 7 into the Lyra with the Jade Lightning, J-Claws, and the 1/1, he pushes 2. That puts Evangelion at 24, and he will end the turn with 6 minions in play, meaning he will still be a little bit off from Bloodlust lethal on the following turn.
Yeah, so this Jade Lightning being able to just take down Lyra pretty easily is going to really help him out. Starts to continue that Jade train, and it's just these Mana Tides, right? Kycoo just has so many options, so many resources.
18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 25. He's actually 1 over. I forgot to account for the extra 2/2 of attack.
Oh, sure.
Put in from the Jade. So this is actually a clean Bloodlust lethal setup. Evangelion will count this and come to the same conclusion himself, I'm sure. And I think he's going to realize he has to AoE this board, unless he feels like he's just never beating Bloodlust this game. But with 2 Mana Tides drawing on the board, if you decide you're never beating Bloodlust this game, well, you're just never winning, because Bloodlust is going to be there.
It's just going to go for the Nova instead of the Dragonfire. Wants to hold on to the Dragonfire in case, you know, if this refill is Doppelgangster Evolve.
Right.
Nova's not going to do much, whereas, you know, these Mana Tides still continue to be a pain. Although, it's like, okay, Kycoo, you want to draw cards? I'm going to make you overdraw and potentially burn some key resources, but...
He's fine for now, though. He can play Primal Fin Totems and Flame Elementals. Like, sometimes going double Mana Tide with Evolve Shaman is tricky sometimes, because getting cards out of your hand is a little bit difficult. You have Firefly that puts a Flame Elemental back in your hand. You have Stonehill Defender, which replaces itself.
And even Primal Fin generates tokens to give you less space on the board.
Right, exactly.
But to be honest, I think Kycoo could win with this hand if you drew no more cards.
Yep.
Yeah, it is a very good chance actually just putting enough pressure on time and time again with what's available. And now that Jade from the Claws is going to be a 3/3. So even more awkward to deal with now.
Yeah, he's going the other way, and this is a nod to what you said about Primal Fins just kind of filling up board space. He's a little bit reticent to just flood Primal Fins onto the board and just have low-power minions in play that are clogging up the board size, making it difficult to get cards out of his hand, because if he can avoid burning cards, of course he will want to, despite the fact that, as you said, this hand is already pretty much lined up to be able to win the game.
Yeah, there's the Doppelgangster as well. Evolve's been in hand for a very long time, and now we're probably going to see Dragonfire into Doppelgangster Evolve, into Dragonfire, into let's see what happens after that.
Using the top deck one here is interesting for Evangelion, because there is a Shadow Visions card in his hand from Kycoo's perspective, right? He's looked at it. Yep. He said a Shadow Visions card has been
not
picked.
Been played.
It's been held in play. He hasn't Shadower pained one of my Mana Tide totems with it ever. Like, what is that card going to be? It's quite likely a high-impact AoE spell, right? So there's significant information about that card in hand, and yet Evangelion chooses to use the top deck, which is a card that Kycoo can't possibly have any information about.
Wonder as well, Kycoo, I said, like, you know, the Doppelgangster Evolve just feels fine, which it does. Let's see what comes out, the average being your favorite number of 30 stats. Let's see what happens. Okay. Not terrible.
Does mean that Evangelion will have a full clear available to him that he wants, if he wants it. But the interesting part about this to me is that Kycoo did choose to go straight into the Doppelgangster Evolve here. I mean, first and foremost, this isn't necessarily a sign that he hasn't got a read on a second Dragonfire potion, because quite often minions do get outside of that 5 health range anyway, right? Like 6 health is a fairly common number if you do the median amount of the 6 drops. But it probably is an indicator that he didn't have that hard read that I was talking about, that the Shadow Visions card was Dragonfire potion in this spot.
Also, there's just a thing of saying, well, my Doppelgangsters might actually be bigger than the Dragonfire anyway, like you said.
Yeah.
But also, does he care? If he Dragonfires again, then he's got like Stonehill, Primal Fin, and then next turn Flame Tongue, Bloodlust, or just double Bloodlust.
Well, I'd say he could have sequenced that the other way around, right?
Yeah,
he could have gone Stonehill, Primal Fin this turn, and then gone and then tested one more time for AoE, and then gone for the Doppelgangster.
Yeah, I just think if you do it this way round, there's a chance that like the minions are too big. Or you would use Dragonfire normally.
Sure.
And the other one, you wipe the whole board to Dragonfire, whereas there's a bit of a steadier chance this time. And with double Bloodlust, damage adds up. When you give him +6 to every minion, that's kind of ridiculous.
And I like Evangelion's patience in this spot. He's choosing not to use the Dragonfire potion. He understands that that is his last possible resource to be able to clear a board. So this is the situation I was talking about earlier, where he decides he's not able to beat lethal damage from that point. If there happened to be Bloodlust double Flame Tongue totem in hand at that point, he was never winning.
Yeah.
So he made a play that could potentially save his Dragonfire potion for 1 or 2 more turns, set him up better to win the long game. It's one of those unique situations in Hearthstone where I think that play was absolutely correct, but it turns out that the correct play loses you the game on the spot. But that's not what Hearthstone is about. Hearthstone is a game of making the highest percentage play where you win the game the most often, not any individual instance.
And also as well, let's be completely honest. Okay, clears the board. Then the same thing happens, he dies. It's like there's at that point, because of the sheer volume of cards that Kycoo drew with the double Mana Tide, and Evangelion never even got on the board. It's like, what's the priest ever going to do? Unless there's some, unless Light Bomb jumps back into the game out of nowhere and helps clear the board as well. Just not going to get him there. And we are going to be going into game number 2. Kycoo taking the lead so far against the current DreamHack Valencia champion. So, of course, last hero standing, so he's going to be on his Evolve Shaman again. It's like he's going up against a Secret Mage from Evangelion, and kind of surprising me. I think this might be the 50-50 list. Because if Evangelion's playing like aggro Secret Mage, I'd be like, what? What? You play control decks? What are you doing?
He also chose not to keep a Kirintor Mage with no secret synergy already in hand, with no secrets to play, which I definitely agree with, particularly in this matchup where you pretty much live and die by Mana Worm Arcanologist as a potential opener. So I like him going for the aggressive mulligan. He was rewarded by picking up the Arcanologist here, but now he's just drawing a few too many secrets. This is the kind of hand that makes him wish he did keep the Kirintor.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one with this kind of hand, actually. Just too many secrets to mess with, and then it's going to be waiting until turn 5 to actually use it with the Valet anyway.
Flame Tongue is going to pick up some nice trades here. allow Kycoo to tempo through. But yeah, this is a little bit of an unfortunate draw from Evangelion because without the secret synergy in hand now, without the Kirin Tor mages, this hand is very, very slow. It takes him till turn 4 or turn 5 potentially to be able to tempo out that Medivh's Valet, depending on whether his secret sticks. The Mana Worm pickup, though, is a very big deal, and he's going to be begging for something that he can play this turn. Frostbolt or Flame Geyser would be what he's looking for. Doesn't get it, though.
I guess you have to look at Nova in this case. You already have an entity.
Yeah.
Nova's actually going to do something, and it's cheap enough to get work done in a turn or two's time.
Part of me just feels like Evangelion is a Cabalist Tome gamer.
A part of you feels correct.
I mean, sometimes you just have a soul read, right? You're just like, I don't know necessarily what the right pick is here, but Evangelion is going to pick Cabalist Tome.
3 mana for 3 cards is pretty good. It's better than Arcane Intellect.
Apart from the pile of shatters and freezing potions that you end up with. But,
sometimes Shatter wins games.
Yeah, if you just get one of each, GG.
Yeah, exactly.
2 mana Assassinate.
That's a pretty good combo. And 2 spells as well, which is important for Mana Worms.
True.
And a potential Yogg.
All right, well, this opens up some tempo lines now for Evangelion. He chose to go with the Mana Worm play on the previous turn. He could have chosen to play Counterspell, just 3 mana Counterspell, go. Yeah. And then relied on the fact that Counterspell probably wouldn't get procced going into a Shaman's turn 3, and then set up his Medivh's Valet to be able to deal with a high-priority target. Mana Tide would be an expected play to come down on the following turn, so you would have been able to snipe it out quite nicely. Even Mirror Entity, get yourself your own Mana Tide in that position would have worked out okay as well. But he's
a Cabalist Tome gamer.
With nothing to do, yeah, he just ended up as a Cabalist Tome gamer, and there is a Forbidden Flame, Cone of Cold, Blizzard, which is not a bad roll off his Cabalist Tome whatsoever.
Yeah, and the Counterspell discussion is very interesting to me, actually.
The Counterspell discussion?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Because too many in-jokes, so there's only me and you got that.
It's true.
Because a lot of players have said, oh, you never play Counterspell if they have the coin.
Sure.
But that just can't always be true, right? You know what I mean? Like, well, yeah, they have the coin, but it makes them use it, and still you might need Counterspell for Valet. But I feel like a lot of players are very strongly on like, no, you just never play it. And it's what if they never use coin?
So to break it down a little bit further, because I'm sure there's some people just screaming, like, why would he play Counterspell? The coin's in hand.
I'm not even.
You're an idiot, sap casters, but you're playing an unknown secret, right? They might not want to coin. They might just say, okay, it's Mirror Entity. They don't know the list. It's unknown. They don't know what the secret makeup is. So if you play it into a turn where they just want to play Mana Tide, they might just play Mana Tide and then kill the 0/3 that they would give the other side and just end up not coining at all. So it's a potential play that you can end up with.
Yeah, I think like very strict rules are dangerous things in Hearthstone because they're really, for every rule, there's like 5 reasons that you break them a lot of the time.
The only general rule that is universal is that all general rules are stupid.
Yeah, there you go.
Wrap your head around that one.
And you normally, want to put them to 0 health. That's a general rule.
That is a solid mantra to live by, yeah.
Now, though, the secret does go up, starting to just reduce the Crystal Runner a little bit. But still very, very slow. I wonder if this Cabalist Tome is actually going to be enough for Evangelion to get there, actually, because you look at Cone of Cold, only freezes 3, but still, could be 3 very important minions. And then Blizzard gets a lot of work done combined with Cold over the course of 2 turns.
Yeah, the big problem for Evangelion in this spot is yet again Kycoo has been able to stick a Mana Tide totem, right? Which is just so massive because if you pick up a couple of AoEs, if you get a Blizzard and a Cone of Cold as we see in this spot, if you don't allow them to draw cards, you can freeze one board state with the Cone of Cold, then they overcommit a bit more, and then you end up, 3, 4, 5 for 1ing with your Blizzard, potentially. That can be a huge way to just blow the Shaman out of resources. But with Mana Tide sticking for 2, 3, 4 turns, whatever it ends up doing, your Blizzard isn't going to really pick up the net value that you need it to in the context of the hand.
Kycoo, because of this Mana Tide, has a lot of options here. Sticking with some, steady, just getting the claws down. And just setting up the second he draws Bloodlust, which is getting progressively quicker, means that he's just gonna blow this game up, to be honest. And now, Doppelgangster evolve as an option for later. There's Devolve, there's Jade Lightning, even Alakir that he got from the Stonehill. Yet again, Kycoo's just got a ton of options.
Curious about this Blizzard. Evangelion could have actually Cone of Colded the left-hand side of the board and then that would have potentially not killed any minions, actually set up the Mana Tide to die to Blizzard potentially on a following turn if there was no healing totem come down, and also limited the board state because it wouldn't have killed anything. So he would have actually limited Kycoo's development for a turn as well, right? There would only have been one open space remaining on the board for Kycoo to develop power into. So maybe a little bit question mark of just snapping to the Blizzard in that position, but it's fine. It still works out reasonably well. The important point is that because of Kycoo's one overload, there was no possibility to go Doppelgangster Evolve, combined with the fact Counterspell was in play as well. So limiting the board space to stop the Doppelgangsters coming down wasn't actually a concern for Evangelion at that point. Otherwise, maybe the Cone of Cold would have been more appealing.
Yeah, because there's no coin anymore, so there's no safety net. And also as well, something that Kycoo has to think about, these deck lists are hidden.
Yes.
And then you have to start thinking, oh, well, for a start, what version of Mage is it? Then what secrets are it? Because, you know, there's not been anything too crazy that's been shown yet by Evangelion, and there's just been one counterspell, and it's like, guess what? Counterspell's played in pretty much every single Mage deck at the moment, minus Freeze Mage, but it's probably got the read. There's no Freeze Mage.
Some lists have got one counterspell in Freeze Mage.
It's just a good card, Sol. It's just a good card.
We have seen it, and here you see Evangelion finally finding the tempo swing that he was looking for, and with a Jade Lightning getting eaten by the counterspell on Kycoo's previous turn, it's actually kind of difficult now for him to deal with this 5/5 in play, especially now the secrets have been loaded up behind it as well, and that's something that you will see in this tournament. Secret Mage probably gets a slightly innate buff in a hidden deck list format. You'll see people walk into secrets a lot more in this than you would in, say, an HCT event where deck lists were revealed. Because even if you just know the secret makeup is, let's say, 2 Counterspell, 1 Mirror Entity, and like 1 Ice Block, whatever. Let's say that's the makeup of the list. When a secret gets played, you know straight away it's most likely to be Counterspell because there's 2 copies of it. So straight away, you have an innate advantage into how to play around the secrets. When the deck lists are completely revealed, secret cards are pretty much actually working as intended. They are secret. You actually just have to try and work it out from the context of the board state.
So sequencing styles and stuff like that. And as well now, I would actually like to see the Maelstrom, because it doesn't line up anything too great, especially because of the Mirror Entity. But I just frankly want to test for Counterspell, get it out the way, because then if it is Counterspell, you know both are gone. So now, Doppelgangster Evolve, Bloodlust, whatever, are completely open. There's nothing to stop them anymore.
Grokfu Master. And a real high roll on the 2-drop as well, picking up the Succubus. Question marks over Kycoo's sequencing. If he always intended to make this play, it was fine. But playing the Stonehill Defender into a potential Mirror Entity when he hadn't yet hit the Sorcerer's Apprentice with the J-Claws, for example, is a question mark. But as I mentioned, if he fully intended to always devolve that turn, then it probably wasn't a big deal.
Sure. Okay, well, unfortunate now that Evangelion probably doesn't have any more secrets left in the deck. And there's an Arcanologist and a Valet.
He's played 3, so maybe there's one more.
Maybe 1 Mirror.
He's played 1 Mirror Entity, 2 Counterspell so far, so 4 is usually a sweet spot number for this deck.
I think you might consider glyphing for 1 here, actually.
For a secret?
Yeah.
To activate the Valet?
Well, I kind of want that Grokfu to go face, so...
you just always want everything to go face.
I mean, that's the card that goes face. Good old Glyph into Pyro.
There you go.
Day made. Well, now... Evangelion can just choose which 2-drop he wants. I guess he has got a secret then.
Yep, there's the block.
Okay.
Hey, 2 Counterspell, 1 Mirror Entity, 1 Ice Block. That's just somehow what I said.
Also as well, that's just kind of hard to play around. You know, like which secret, because for Kycoo, again, deck list is secret. So it means that the Mirror Entity might be a second one. The Ice Block isn't, it's not uncommon, but not common either. You know what I mean? Like some aggressive secret mages have been playing with it, but a lot definitely haven't. So very difficult to work out there. Doppelgangster Evolve looks like just a straight-up play going down here.
And yeah, since he's doing it into a board that he needs to contest, he went for the extra totem as well, just trying to pick up an extra 2-drop. And a 2/2 off it, that is pretty much what you get. I've heard some people recently say that if you evolve 1-drops, you end up with a bunch of 2/3s. Actually not the case.
That's just just not true.
It's what the average stat, if you do the mean average, that's what it will tell you get. The problem is you're rolling individual instances from a pool. So what actually matters is the median average, right? And the median is clustered around 2-2s. So that's what you end up with most of the time with each individual entity. The reason the average health is skewed is because there's a Doomsayer, which just doesn't count. It has 7 health, but it's not a minion you want. And then there's Dirty Rat, there's Cornered Sentry, there's a bunch of 2/6s that you can end up with as well.
Well, thanks for the statistics class with Sal today.
Would you like to know, you were talking about Secret of Glyph earlier. Would you like to know how likely that is, Raven?
Go on.
61% that you pick up a Secret of Primordial Glyph if it's what you're looking for.
So in Raven, but if it's not what you're looking for, it's 20%.
I'm saying if your intention is to pick any secret that gets given to you because of Cabal Crystal Runner or Medivh's Valet, then you're 61%.
It just sounded great. If it's what you're looking for, then it will reveal itself to you 61% of the time.
Hard enough.
In the heart of the cards. Grokfu Master still alive. It's rocking that thingy effect, Wind Fury.
Is that even the right name? It is, right? Grokfu Master?
This Pyroblast does open up a lot of options, though. And by a lot of options, I mean one, get him.
Well, I mean, Ice Block Pyro. Name me a more iconic duo. I'll wait.
Raven and Sol.
Okay, sure, fair enough. You got me there, buddy. But yeah, I mean, they are really just the perfect marriage. Just finding a full turn to Pyroblast is always a very difficult thing to do. So it's why it's just such a natural pairing with Ice Block. You saw Evangelion go straight to that Pyro, knowing that he was playing Arcanologist that turn and probably just ending up with the Ice Block in his hand. We suspect that is the last secret in his deck, so he knew he was going to draw it guaranteed off the Arcanologist.
The board's full. Beast is a problem. No freezes left now for Evangelion. He could tome into something else, can still play the Crystal Runner no matter what this turn. But this is a little bit dicey. You don't really want to Pyro the Beast when your opponent's on 19. But the double taunt Kycoo's managed to put up, the Totem and the Hot Spring, means that, there's not even extra minion damage. If you looked at that board before Kycoo finished his turn, Pyroblast plus minion hits just pretty much kills him.
Right.
But now it's just a bit of stabilization, and suddenly, you look at Bloodlust on one hand, then allocate to finish the game afterwards, or vice versa, depending on what the board looks like.
And also,
it's a close one.
Let's just rewind time and just evaluate a divergent path that myself and Evangelion perhaps had in this game, where he snapped to the Blizzard straight away, whereas I was thinking about maybe squeaking out a bit more value with the Cone of Cold.
Yeah.
The 8-2 stealth that came down, and then all that was remaining in hand was the Cone of Cold and not the Blizzard, and now that 8-1 is still potentially just hanging around to connect. But never mind, I said Evangelion was in fact a Cabalist home gamer. He quite clearly is.
Yeah. Got there with the old Meteor, but the problem is this Beast's going to swing in, and 9 is quite a large number in Hearthstone.
Crucially, the 12 on board plus the Bloodlust is going to be a block proc here.
Yeah.
But then what do we have coming back the other way? There's a ping plus Pyro available, so if there's no trades that happen, the Pyro and a ping will be able to trade through. Only 17 damage going face after that.
Yeah, I think this is checkmate and Kycoo wins, right? He procs the block this turn, then just has allocate next turn, yeah. Yep. And there's, unless there's some magical second block, but I would genuinely be surprised.
I would too.
Because, there's already the 4 secrets in this deck. Do you really want a 5th? The block, as you mentioned earlier, is mainly there for that 1 additional damage turn. I just don't think it's going to be there, and we might see the first match on stream of the Hearthstone Grand Prix in Valencia. Might actually just be a 3-0 sweep. A bit of a nod to last hero standing, basically. Flame Strike looks good now. It looks very good, because it will clear the board. But we can see
no way to prevent the Alakir damage, yeah.
Beast's a beast.
But remember, from this point, that one remaining deck for Evangelion to come out after this is the Paladin. And I hope and pray that it is that N'Zoth Paladin that he became very, very famous for after his hometown win last year. And if there is a deck that we know Evangelion is capable of 3-0 sweeping with, it is that N'Zoth Paladin, because that is all he did last year. He bodied fools with N'Zoth Paladin.
Even now, the Jade Lightning for Kycoo as well. I think he should have played it. It's like Jade Lightning off the top. Get him. But now Alaka is going to finish the game. Kycoo goes 2-0 up versus Evangelion. And is he just going to hand Evangelion like just a round 1 loss in what is an extremely competitive Swiss in this event?
It really is. Kycoo is a player that we haven't really talked too much about so far, but he is a very, very well-established player within his own community. Just very narrowly missing out on the German HGG team. Really would have been a strong contender. You know, the German HGG team went through various iterations and chops and changes, and big surprise that Kycoo didn't really get himself into that. But he's a very, very well-known player. He has, though, I would say, underperformed at DreamHack. He has a negative record overall, I believe 7 and 8. In DreamHack total, so that is well below his station, I would say. But it's really hard to say that about every player because the quality of a DreamHack Swiss is so high that just the law of averages will tell you that some good players are going to end up with a negative record, right? Because someone has to. And I think that is the situation we're looking at with Kycoo because he's a very, very accomplished player with some excellent ladder results behind him. Welp, that's a pyro.
Okay. But people, a lot of players are actually, I feel, undecided on this. I generally feel that even the Zothpardon isn't really like a good matchup versus Evolved Shaman.
No, I don't think so.
And I know...
it's okay.
Yeah, it could be worse. But what's interesting is like Evangelion chose this as his last deck to go against. So that shows it's not exactly favored in his mind.
Right, I mean, there are always slightly more in-depth concerns with Last Hero Standing. You don't always queue your best match in as a counter queue because sometimes that then opens up to a very clear and obvious counter queue from your opponent and you just end up losing the back and forth. Sometimes you have to try and do something a little bit more creative to get yourself back into an advantageous position in the series when you're 1-0 down. But you know, with Pyromancer in the opening hand and Hydrologist as well to combine with it, which now gives him Pyromancer, Coin, and Secret as a bootleg consecration, if you want to look at it that way, and the ability to plan towards that Primordial Drake. He's in a decent spot here because he can basically now earmark turn 8 as a Primordial Drake turn and then work backwards, right? Like, when do I have to AoE with this Pyromancer? How do I fill my time until I get there? Gives him a very clear and established game plan as to how this game will develop.
Yep. Look at this options here from the Stonehill. I do kind of like White Eyes. You are, you know, a little bit upset if there's Naldor Peacekeeper to deal with the Storm Warden later on. But looks like Kycoo's gone for the thing from below, just getting a little bit cheaper.
Guardian? Storm Guardian, right?
Yeah, that's what I said, wasn't
He said Warden. He said Warden. I also have to double check because you are a far bigger role player than me.
Is it Warden?
I'm pretty sure it's Guardian.
Yeah, I think Warden.
Answers on a postcard, boys.
Yeah. That's no. But in general here, I think with the Burn Bristle as well helping bridge the turns, it's not looking too bad. And most importantly, Kycoo doesn't have a mana tied down.
No, he does have a Flame Tongue though, which, you know, immediately if Evangelion just tries to go minion presence here, which is kind of what his hand wants to do at this point, then the Flame Tongue is going to bust through pretty efficiently. But Evangelion really, I like this play, just coining out True Silver and just trying to get the board state under control. He recognizes that any minions he goes for here can just get immediately value traded out by anything from Kycoo at this point, from Flame Tongue Totem, from Jade Lightning. That will allow Shaman to tempo through. That's what they want to do. This deck is actually very similar to old school Tempo Mage, where the biggest mistake you could make was playing minions into their minions. Yeah. Because that's
what
how,
it does.
That's how they gain tempo. They would Sorcerer's Apprentice Arcane Blast your dude, and then you'd just be falling behind. Same thing with Evolve Shaman. Just try and answer their board state piece by piece. Don't try and contest with minions if you have other plays available, because contesting battles on the board is what this deck does better than anything else.
Yeah, now look at these draws. There is an Evolve now to pair with that Doppelgangster. Next turn, Kycoo can Hero Power and Thing from below. Or just play Flame Tongue and Thing from below, actually, which could be pretty sweet. Evangelion's going to clear.
I like it. Could have potentially got a little bit more greedy, gone with an Acolyte of Pain line, Stonehill Defender line, tried to get some value out of those cards with all the 1/1s in play, just 1/4 or just drawing cards off the Acolyte, with the upside that if the Acolyte then stuck, you then had the Pyro Secret play afterwards to get more value. But Evangelion, he just takes his small win here and says, you know what, I'm ahead of the board, we'll take it right now. No way to kill it with the Noble Sack protecting it as well, that's huge.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the difference between the Flame Tongue and the Thing from below coming down here. So I think double Flame Tongue would have more than likely happened if the Pyro could have been killed by the Healing Tome. Now the Evangelion on 5 mana doesn't have a ton of amazing things to do. Can fit one of the 3 drops in with the Hydrologist, but can't play the Secret as well if he wants to do that. And no extra damage to actually clear off this thing from below.
Takes Kodo here, sticking with value. Can get some very useful tools out of that in the future. He's going to trade in the Pyromancer, playing around Maelstrom Portal just a little bit here with the 3-1 vulnerable on the board. And there it is, rewarded straight away with the pickup of the Maelstrom.
I think I just like Evolve now.
You want to do it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, this thing pinging off the shield and dying, you can get a 7 drop from that thing from below. That's huge.
You've seen one Pyro get played. You've tested for a board state that probably would have been consecrated for a couple of turns. So you could probably rule out a consecration in the hand. Most of the cards from the left-hand side of your opponent's hand have been played out since the mulligan. So you're kind of step-by-step ruling out a quality as being each of those cards. Yeah,
I think one thing you got to be worried about is Spite Ridged. But, like, with a board full of 6 drops and a 7 drop, is the Spite Ridged on Burn Bristle really that bad?
That Wrath of Air totem is savage, though. If you know you can just press that button and now the spell damage totem, then the Flame Tongue Maelstrom Portal line just becomes dramatically superior, because now you dominate the board so hard with double Flame Tongue in play and a 7 damage thing from below connecting that now you are checking for that equality clear to come out, right? If the equality clear happens here, you can then refill with Doppelgangster Evolve.
Look at this
has worked out so perfectly for Kycoo.
Look at the lack of power follow-up here from Evangelion. There's just nothing there.
No.
Like, yeah, double 3 drop, great. It's just not really going to get there.
What do you take in that spot? Ironfur Grizzly's just so low power, but Soggoth is just way too slow.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Okay.
I guess you just have to play Acolyte, just fish harder for some kind of answer to the board state, just drop that behind this. Is he taking Ironfur with the intention of playing it this turn? Because
if you're not playing it this turn,
I think he needs to Acolyte. Is this hand going to get him there? Is he just hoping he can find a way to Primordial Drake if he double taunts this turn? I guess that's Evangelion's thinking.
This is rough. Oh.
So 3 and 4 will go into the 2 taunts perfectly, and then he will have 16 damage pushing face just with the Bloodlust. Sorry, slightly more than that. 10, 12, 14, 20. I think it's 1 off.
Wow. Why not? Press that button. Especially because turn 7, there's no Rag Light Lord potential.
Yeah.
And if your opponent didn't clear this board, are they really going to do it on turn 7?
Yeah. I like it. I mean, the trades into the taunts are just too awkward without it. That's the second big reason why I like it. But yeah, 4 and 3 just goes perfectly into the taunts here with the 2 minions on the right-hand side, and then 20 gets pushed to face. So yeah, 1 off at the end of all this. No direct follow-up damage, but as you said, he's outpacing Primordial Drake, and he's outpacing the healing. Those are the 2 crucial points here for Kycoo. It's why that Bloodlust was such an appealing play. And now Evangelion just has no answer.
And he knows it.
State.
Yeah, he's just got to stare at the cards, just work out there's nothing at all he can do. But his hand is pretty grim, to be honest. The weapon does nothing. Putting him to 1 at that exact time was exactly what he needed to do. Evangelion is just going to commit. Honorable, is it Sudoku?
Subaru.
Subaru. Yeah. Sudoku is the number game. But still, maybe it's because of that game, I don't know. But Kycoo takes a round 1 3-0 sweep with Shaman over the current DreamHack Valencia champion, Evangelion, and he's got to be feeling pretty good about that win. You're against the previous champ, round 1 3-0, and I'll be honest, didn't seem that difficult. The way, you know, keeping those Mana Tides on the board just worked out in those 2 games very, very well for Kycoo. And that last one, I mean, Evangelion just didn't really do much. There were multiple lines that Kycoo could have taken, you know, with the Evolve turn versus the going wide on the board. Yep. Obviously, the spell damage totem helped with that dramatically. But, you know, multiple lines he could have done, and he still would have been in a pretty great position, to be honest.
Yeah, and crucially, he was able to cut through the Control Paladin. Not sure if it was Azoth or not. We didn't really get enough information to find out. But was able to cut through the Control Paladin with the greatest of ease. Because last year, that is just what we saw from Evangelion in his winning run. It was just a 3-1 with N'Zoth, 3-0 with N'Zoth Paladin, lose the first game, sweep with N'Zoth Paladin, take it 3-1. We just saw it time and time and time again. At one point, as Lothar said in the intro, I think his record was 12-1 overall with N'Zoth Paladin through that. So even at 2-0 down, we might have had hopes of the dream story coming back, but now Evangelion, the defending champion, going down 0-1 in the opening round, so difficult to even put a run together from an opening round loss that gets you through, even on tiebreakers. Like, you almost have to sweep the rest of the Swiss rounds from this point, because tiebreakers, if you pick up a second loss, are not going to be in your favor. Yeah,
with so many players in this tournament, like, losing the one round early is extremely detrimental to your chances of getting through, just because the way the tiebreakers work out, that the early games, you know, have such a large impact on them. But we have more Hearthstone action coming up for you pretty much right now. So we have Orange versus Den, another round 1 game, of course, coming up. And Orange, another DreamHack champion from DreamHack Summer, a mere 4 weeks ago, I guess, in and around that.
I mean, we've flown around the world 3 times in that time, so I have no idea how long ago it was.
But Orange, I would say Orange, Powder, Ostkaka, just, you know, the forming of Team Alliance, they're on fire at the moment. You know, they're practicing very, very, very hard for all their major tournaments they've got coming up. And what's that for?
They practice very, very, very hard, and they take the game seriously, Raven.
Yes.
Both Powder and Orange, they don't complain about their bad beats. They go back, they work out what was wrong with their lineup. They work out if they made one play wrong in the entire series that could have changed it. If you talk to these guys, and we did a lot at Sea Story, they have an incredible mentality for Hearthstone, and it's the big reason, honestly, why Orange is being so successful right now. And you might say, okay, well, you know, Powder and Ostkaka, well, what are they winning? But it's a team effort, right? They prepare together. So when one of them wins, you have to chalk it up to all of them, to the ecosystem that they've created on Team Alliance.
Also as well, Ostkaka got, what, 2nd at Sea Story?
Yeah, sure.
And Orange got top 16 at DreamHack. So
Powder.
Powder got top 16 at DreamHack on the one Orange
Alliance
won.
as a whole, in like the last couple of DreamHacks, where there was a moment where it was just like the Alliance record overall was like 15-1 or something when you looked at like the opening 5 rounds.
That's what I mean. And although, yes, you know, all the players aren't winning everything, when you 2nd place in Seat Story, winning DreamHack, top 16 in DreamHack, among other things, I think Powder actually got top 4 in the Life Coach Mansion tournament as well.
Right, yeah.
So, like, these are ridiculously consistent performances from these players.